Hello and welcome back to Holt Hanley Weather. The big story going on right now is the historic flooding in the south. And by the look of the forecast right now, they're not going to get any break from the rain anytime soon. So we're going to take a look at some of the totals still expected. As you can see, the forecast models are predicting that by this time tomorrow, maybe 2-3 inches are still possible in some of the affected regions. So let's look at the timing and rates of some of this rain still to come for the south. Like I said, areas already flooded. A state of emergency has already been declared in Mississippi, and the Pearl River especially is at its third highest level of all time. It is flooding thousands of homes. You can look up videos of what it looks like there. Basically, the streets just look like a river. And like I said, there's not going to be any break anytime soon. As you can see, this is right now, Tuesday morning. Still some rain in parts of eastern Mississippi, western Alabama. And as you'll see coming up pretty soon here, a really heavy band of rainfall is still expected later. So by Tuesday at about 7 a.m., that rain's going to move off into Georgia. Some heavy rates expected there, maybe 0.2 to 0.4 inches per hour. But again, the worst flooding right now is right by Jackson, Mississippi, where basically thousands of homes are being flooded. You have to paddle around in a canoe right now just to get around the streets. So Tuesday morning, they get a little bit of a break, and then by Tuesday at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that rain really starts returning. You see the heavier rates more in that band going from northern Mississippi to northern Alabama to northern Georgia. That's going to be up into the 0.2 inches per hour. And like I said, it's already flooded there. So what happens is the soils get saturated. What normally happens when it rains is the water can just kind of percolate into the soil and you're all good. But once it's flooded, that water can't get absorbed into the soil anymore. So it just sits right on top, and any rain you get just continues to accumulate. And that's what's already happening there. If you remember, you could probably watch all of my forecast videos last week. Basically in every single one, I was saying heavy rains in the south, heavy rains in the south, heavy rains in the south. It started with Winter Storm Cade, led to some flooding in Alabama and Georgia. State of emergency was declared there. Then Winter Storm Mabel came in. And what happens is the low moves across the northeast and just pulls the band of moisture up into the south. And now, more rain. So basically for the last 2 weeks, they have been getting nonstop rain. And moving into Tuesday night, this is where that strong band really starts building through. This is where probably majority of that accumulated precip that I showed on the first slide is going to really start showing up. Here you see 0.4 to maybe 0.6 inches, basically from Louisiana up into northern Georgia. And that's going to move off throughout Tuesday night and Wednesday. And then luckily on Wednesday, it looks like we get a little break in the rainfall, but once again, not going to last for long. Another big one comes in on Thursday. Hopefully that giant bullseye of rain that you see right off of southern Louisiana, hopefully that can stay south. Because if that moves up into Mississippi, well, we could have even worse flooding conditions than is already happening. So basically, little break on Wednesday, but the whole rest of the week, it's going to be some pretty heavy rain through Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, where it's already flooded. Then by Friday, you start to get some clear weather. That is encouraging to see. You see that high buildup off of northern Georgia. And luckily it looks like Friday through Sunday, the whole southeast is going to be pretty clear in the way of precip. So hopefully that water can start to drain out and the soils can unsaturate, if that's a word. So let's look at what's the mechanism driving all this moisture. And it's kind of been the case in all these storms that have been moving up through the Midwest and Northeast. They move on up here, and think about the circulation around a low. It's counterclockwise. It's going like this. So what's happening is it's pulling up the Gulf moisture up into the southeast and mid-Atlantic. It's been happening with all these storms that have been coming through. This guy moves off into the northeast, and it pulls up that warm, moist air from the Gulf as it goes through. And to make matters worse, there's another low sitting right here. So think about how these circulations would work together. This one is coming down, pulling air up like that. This one is circulating, same, counterclockwise, but it's pushing air up like that. So these two lows are really working together, which is why we're getting such heavy rates in the southeast. Let's click through and see what happens to this low as it moves through the northeast. You can see some pretty heavy snow. We'll take a look at the rates and timing of that later. But again, you see whole southeast covered in rain. There's that Tuesday night, Wednesday morning where that really heavy strip of rain shows up for the southeast. Basically goes from Texas up into almost West Virginia. And then luckily that is basically gone by Thursday night, Friday. Although on Thursday, you see another little bullseye. That one was the tail end of that low that was sitting off Texas. It kind of hangs out, and then you see it finally moves off Friday morning. So that one just kind of hovers in the Gulf for pretty much this entire week. And then luckily, you see Friday, Saturday, pretty much the entire country is clear in the way of precipitation. So let's really take a look at the winds on this one. Remember I was talking about how there's a low up here and a low down here in Texas. Well, you can really see how the winds are working with this low. It's counterclockwise, but these winds are getting pulled up the isobars, lines of constant pressure. These winds are getting pulled up, and that's going to do two things. When you're pulling in this air that sits over the Gulf of Mexico, it's warm and it's moist. Well, when warm air moves into an area, it's called warm air advection, and it's one of the key aspects that leads to storm development. When warm air moves in, think about what happens. It rises, creates a bunch of clouds, and then with that moisture, then those clouds are going to have a ton of excess precip available, and then that's all going to fall down. So it's the warm air and the moist air mixing together to create storms, and it's basically been the case that we've seen for the southeast the last 2 weeks. I think there's areas in Mississippi and Alabama that already have doubled their usual rainfall totals, and it's only February. Normally that gets cut off by May. Well, it's only February, and they've already doubled their usual rainfall totals. And as you can see, it's not ending anytime soon. But it's interesting to look at this map, how the winds are really pulling in that warm, moist air. So let's take a look at the northeast. Right now, see a little snow showing up in parts of western New York. And this low is going to move through Canada, but it's going to bring some actually decent snowfall rates to New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So you see by Tuesday at about 7 a.m., which is about right now, some heavier snowfall rates showing up in New York. And then the real action with this one, you see the low sitting up right up here off of the northwest of New York. And then some heavy rates start to build into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The real bulk of the snowstorm hits Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. You can see rain fills in behind, but areas of New Hampshire and basically all of Maine are getting some good snowfall rates with this one. The key thing here is what are the temperatures doing? This shows right now, you can see northern Maine really cold. -1 degrees, -4 degrees, and it's actually surprising that western New York was showing any snowfall at this time because it looks like it's pretty warm, 36 degrees. Be interesting to see if they actually accumulate all that much. But clicking through Tuesday, this is, remember, the bulk of the storm hit about Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And you can see basically all of Maine still really cold. 19 degrees, 16 degrees, and then that hangs around throughout basically all of Tuesday, which is going to allow some decent snow accumulations. Well, what are those accumulations? Right now you see, western New York maybe getting an inch, parts of northern Pennsylvania, maybe into that 2 to 3 inch range. And then as this low moves off into Canada, you really see it start to build in. So this is Wednesday at 1 in the morning. Let's check out by this time tomorrow, 7 a.m. on Wednesday. See, there's a bullseye in New York. That's going to be maybe 6 to 8 inches. And then some white patches in Vermont. That's going to be more in the 4 to 5 inch range. And then New Hampshire and Maine. You guys are really getting it good with this one. If you're a snow lover and you live in New Hampshire or Maine, well, you're going to be happy with this one because it's outperforming what the models were originally saying it was going to do. You guys could be seeing 6 to 8 inches, maybe even double digits in some of the colder, higher elevation places. Check back with me. This is Hidden Wednesday, so I'll be able to do another forecast video before the bulk of the storm really hits you guys. So check back and subscribe to my channel if you like weather-related content. Thanks for watching.